So you're passionate about tech and that dream IT job feels out of reach. Don't worry, it happens to all of us. This video will be your launchpad. I'll crack the code for landing your first IT job. Forget generic advice. I'll give you actionable steps to stand out, showcase your skills, and land that interview. Ready to ditch that newbie label and become an IT pro? Some people are really into side hustles. There's a time and place for them. We'll discuss why you shouldn't start with them initially and then transition into what we truly do recommend. This is where we come in today. We're going to be discussing it. And so I'm going to start off by saying that the number one solution to this is to deliver dirt and topsoil. I am completely joking about that, but that's actually one of the items that they talk about online, that they say that, that's one thing you can do is deliver dirt and topsoil to make some money. Well, we'll go over that and a bunch of the other things coming up. The main thing to note is that essentially you need to work really hard at these things. So the problem is you'll have to decide, what level of hard work are you going to be able to put in to actually get results that are brought up. A lot of these videos that are up on the internet are talking about people that have already done it, and because you see an example, you feel that this is really attainable, and some might be somewhat attainable, but I don't think it'll be to the level that you're expecting with how the videos are framed, with the amount of money per day or per month that you can create. So that's where my red flags start coming up. What I wanted to do today is to talk about my background so you know kind of what type of information and tips I can provide to you. I also want to talk about the issues with all the different side hustles and mention all of them that I was able to kind of put a list together so you could see them all in one spot. I'll give you a bunch of tips and recommendations for those, as well as what I recommend that you do depending on where you are at in the whole process of, going from school into life and working, and we'll conclude with that. So essentially, my background is that I have about 24 years of IT experience. So I work in IT fields, and my computer engineering degree in college was a Bachelor of Science, and I had a Management Information Systems minor. And so, as you could say, I'm relatively technical and very much so into IT, because for the last 18 years I was an owner or president of an existing IT consulting firm. And so we are a managed services provider, meaning that we actually take care of anything IT related for customers and clients and make sure that their systems are running well. We have cloud solutions we deploy for them. We do networking, technical support, you name it, anything IT, that's what we take care of. And that's my background. And so to kind of go over a bunch of these side hustles that we're talking about, I'll throw them up on the screen here. It starts off, let's say, with search engine optimization. You could essentially, think this is some form of making sure that Google or any other search engine can select your video link or product to send it out to people so that they purchase it. It is, in my opinion, relatively hard to do this where you get quick, good results. And so the theme on this page is going to be results are not typical. I want you to watch out for when items sound too good to be true or that results are not typical. You're going to have to really, decide if this is something worth your time or not. On top of this, you could do drop shipping. A lot of people online try to do drop shipping. The danger with drop shipping would be if you are trying to purchase a bunch of things, you want to watch out the quantities you have to purchase, and then on top of that, who is this going to be sold to? It's just a lot of problems you're going to have to work on, getting customers to purchase. It's just a lot of hard work. On top of that, there's affiliate marketing. The dilemmas with affiliate marketing are that if you don't have a lot of traffic on your sites or your, videos or whatever you have online, then you're not going to be able to sell a lot. So having a big audience helps dramatically for affiliate marketing. The same thing goes with Amazon. You can sell things on Amazon. If you have something unique that you can put on Amazon and sell, that might help. but it's going to be tough selling something that nobody else is selling, or getting something for cheaper than other people are selling it for and actually making money. If you do fulfillment by Amazon, or if you do any of those services where Amazon will accept your product and then sell it to people as they order it, you have to watch out, because many times they'll take such a huge cut that it's not worth your while. You might make, let's say you attempt to mark up the item, let's say $20, but Amazon will take 18 of it, or who knows, they could even take more than what you think you're going to make on it. So you have to watch out for that. Obviously, you can also do a YouTube channel, which could be faceless or created with AI, which is now the big thing. But these are all, kind of buzzwords that, yes, you could find a couple AI channels that are really raking in the money, or a lot of faceless channels that, don't require too much work apparently. But one thing you'll note is that YouTube, from my experience, is a lot of hard work, and it's, if you stick to it, you could possibly do a great job and, get some results, but it's just a lot of hard work, and it's definitely not typical to be a YouTube star, really, with the way that YouTube is. Moving on from that, you can do print on demand, which means that you could essentially get a design or a logo and put it on shirts, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, you name it. But essentially, you need to have a design that people want and or a logo that people like. But then if it's just your company's name, I don't know who's going to buy it just based on your company's name if you're not, huge or well known. So that's another big problem with that. A lot of these online tips also come out and say you could do online coaching. So you have to be relatively a pro, or at least understand your field and be able to do online coaching for others, or training, or teaching other people, or tutoring. So that's another option there. But and again, you need to kind of know that field that you're going to be going over, and then you have to look for the gigs that you can actually, teach people certain things. And coaching is not going to be too easy to find unless people are, kind of reaching out to you to do the coaching. And as I mentioned earlier, there's the dirt and soil delivery, which apparently you can get bags of dirt and soil for cheap and then deliver them to people that need them at their house. It's an option. On top of that, there's the ability to rent out your car. Not really a big fan of that just because of the liability with that, but apparently you can do that quite a bit. You can obviously do those Uber or Uber Eats type DoorDash deals and make some money, but I'm not quite sure how lucrative those are going to be, especially with, having to do that every day. And if you don't work, then you don't get paid. It's just kind of a balance that you'll have to see if it works out or not. Then there's a bunch of other things. There's landscaping, dryer duct cleaning, pool cleaning, gutter cleaning, you name it. There's obviously also online tutoring and power washing you could do. We kind of mentioned on the online coaching is the online tutoring as well. And last couple items are, purchasing something or getting something for free on Facebook Marketplace, then trying to sell it online, and or selling thrift store items that you get at thrift store online. So these are all possibilities, but in my opinion, they require an immense amount of work, and the results are definitely not typical, like I mentioned. So what's the solution? That's what I want to get to you, is to tell you, what can you do? So obviously you can start by, let's say, going into a trade school. You can go to college. The key though is to can you figure out what do you love doing? Do you love certain things that you would be able to hone in and optimize by going to college, or would a trade school fit your requirements, meaning the things that you can learn and do at a trade school you could do better and learn better? Well, my solution is that if you're watching this channel, you're probably interested in technology a little bit, and if you are, then I suggest eventually working in IT if you're interested in tech. And the goal would be to start making money and save your money and figure out what side hustles you can do, or the next big thing that you could do that kind of makes a big impact or allows you to increase the amount of money that you're creating. So this is definitely not going to be an easy thing or simple like many other YouTubers say it is. So be aware of that. And how then would you be able to get your first IT job? This would apply differently to different stages in your life. Starting off, if possible, just at home, to whatever level of education you're at, you can tinker with the tech that you like. You can work on a PC at home or a home server. You can do your own programming as well. You can learn almost any programming language online at YouTube, which I know there's a lot of news coming out in the AI realm that AI is going to take over the development of certain things, but I would be a little skeptical to hear if that's for sure the case. I would almost look into what you're more interested in as far as what languages. Maybe that's what you should decide, of which language or which programming style is better and more than likely required and needed in the future. That's what you probably want to look into. But the idea is that if you can get some IT work in during high school, that would be awesome. The way you would do that for high school is look around if anyone has some, let's say part-time jobs available that you could work in an IT department. If you could work, doing, let's say, PC setups or anything in the IT realm. When I started working, I was in high school and I got a job at a law firm in the mail department. And working in the mail department, I delivered mail and faxes to different attorneys and employees at the law firm. But then every time I got a chance, I would talk to the IT department guys and ask them and see what they were working on, what they were doing, and if they needed any help. And I kept mentioning it to them, kind of politely, and saying, hey, if you need anything, let me know. If I can help in any way, I'm very interested in computers. And eventually they actually did hire me and took me out of the mailroom into the IT department. And I was their only IT intern there while I was going to school, high school. So I'd be able to go in, let's say after school ended, for a few hours, 2-3 days a week. It was pretty nice, and or sometimes they even had work for me nights and weekends, so I could come in and get some hours of work in. And I got to work with a lot of cool things and look at servers for the first time ever, so it was pretty neat to be able to do that. And then I continued that all the way into college. I was able to work at a similar company that allowed me to get more interaction with servers, networking, you name it, working kind of on a network with a team of about 3 or 4 people. And I was able to continue being an IT intern during college. And so what I recommend is getting really internships. Those are big, as well as many colleges, if you're at a college, have IT departments that have requirements for staff, and they love not having to pay a lot of money to their staff, and they can save some money and utilize interns. It helps quite a bit. I know a bunch of college jobs that were available that you could, let's say, provide tech support to teachers and students, or providing anything from networking support to upgrades as well at the college. So it's pretty nice. And that's obviously assuming that you're going to go the route of going to college. If you're going to go the route of going to college, it's going to be a lot of hard work. But my feeling about college is that it's not a matter of if you're smart enough to go to college. It's a matter of if you're able to work hard enough to go to college. And there's a lot of, details out there online where people say, hey, don't go into huge debt for college, and don't watch out, you're not guaranteed a job, stuff like that. And I guess it's a balance, because as an employer on my end, and if I were to talk to my own kids, which I do have, I would recommend to them that they do go to college, because college teaches you skills for things that you don't like. How can you survive in a class that you really dislike? It helps you figure that out, and how figure out how to work through it, how to learn about things that you're not super interested in, and then allows you to hopefully shine in the topics that you do like, and almost enforce that knowledge that you have, and maybe even extend you or push you into looking at things that you would not have looked at before. And so that's where I come from, and that's not to say that there's a guaranteed solution is going to college, but balancing that with a trade school or looking into what you want to do overall would be great. Normally, I am not leaning towards hiring candidates that are only focused on, let's say, getting certifications or those online quick, 1 month classes that they have. Those might help, and they might be nice because they might even provide real life, examples and data to help you with real IT problems. But what we find is that that's just really just touching the surface, and there's a bunch of crazy, I guess, advertisements that pop up that you'll see on LinkedIn, or I should say more even on Instagram or TikTok, where they're just like, don't know what you want to do in IT, take this 10-minute quiz and you'll figure it out. It's like, well, if you're in the IT field, you more than likely want to really be aware of the different things that are available and then pick the best thing for you. And so I don't know if a little 10 question quiz is the best way to go about it, but obviously if it gets you in that thinking process, maybe that'll do the trick. Moving on, after you've figured out those base items, let's say you tinker with computers at your house, you do some programming on the side. The goal now is to make sure that you can try to get the job or get a job. And so to get the job, I wanted to give you a bunch of tips as to, if I were to hire somebody, what am I looking for? The first item is don't use an outdated email provider. In this case, we have an AOL address I'll throw up on the screen. We don't want to use that. You want to stick away from that. You want to probably use a Gmail address, even an Apple, me.com address is fine, or an outlook.com, anything but probably AOL, sort of. I don't know if there's Prodigy out there or not, but that's a big thing that I was surprised to see, is a bunch of people using older email addresses that kind of tell me that, they're not really either worried about it or care about using a newer email system, available, I guess. And the other thing is to watch out and see if you have a lackluster online presence. So essentially, you want to look at your LinkedIn. I don't know if you have anything on your GitHub, your Facebook, MySpace, for example. Do you have anything inappropriate with your social media? Essentially, Google your name and see what pops up. Go to LinkedIn, view your profile. The key for us when we're hiring is we're going to probably Google your name, and we're going to probably check your LinkedIn profile. And we're going to see, not necessarily a requirement of, hey, do you have a lot of connections, but as far as looking and say, do you have any connections? Where have you worked? Do you have any people that have recommended you? It's nice to see that on LinkedIn. Do you have, let's say, a generic profile? Do you have no profile? That's some of the things that we like to see, and it just can make things better if even before doing an interview, we can pull up a LinkedIn page and see, all about you. It's really convenient. And you want to start off also with a really professional resume. You want to watch for all typos, and we'll throw up some examples of some poor formatting and some crazy sizes and crazy fonts, or with crazy graphics. But to talk about the size of your resume, if you're essentially in high school or you just got out of college, I would say that your resume should be 1 page. Many people start throwing in 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages. Obviously, cover letter is fine, but to have more than a 1 page resume, I would say you should be PhD or doctorate with a bunch of published papers or something like that. I don't see the need. I guess the big thing too is it could also be a red flag if you keep moving from one company to another every year or two. Depending on if you just had some bad luck, that could be understandable. But again, it's not looking to be the greatest on an employer side. Employers looking for someone to stay, a decent amount of time. Obviously nowadays it seems like everybody's switching jobs like crazy, but even 2-3 years at a job would be better than someone getting a new job every 6 months, because then it really brings up some red flags. If it's a new job every 6 months to a year, it's like, well, what's going on? Is it necessarily the jobs, or is it the person? So you got to watch out for that, and you want to make sure that there's no all these crazy things in the resume. And on top of that, one thing that's my pet peeve, or 2 things part of the same concept, is that if you are mentioning technology that you haven't worked with, and you just throw it in just to make your resume look better. Sometimes I'll look at a resume and I'll see 2 or 3 or 4 different technologies that they put in, and I'll say, wow, those are pretty good. Let me ask them something simple about it, or something minimal, and then come to find out the person has no idea about it, or they just say, oh, I'm not sure, and then you find out that really they didn't know anything. They just put it into their resume. It's a big thing that's, a big turnoff, I guess. And then on top of that, if you've heard of something and you just threw it in your resume, that's even worse. So the key would be to be at least aware of the technology, and we're not looking for crazy questions about everything on your resume, but essentially understanding a little bit of it would make sense. Next, we have the fact that we don't want you to ignore job descriptions and requirements. You want to make sure that your application and your resume actually matches the job description. Some people create different resumes even for different job types if they're looking really for a wide variety. But my thought is that, why are you the best person for the position? Put that in your, details or your resume. Not all IT is the same. So I have people that look like they're all development, they're programmers, done it, through college or done quite a bit. And then they go ahead and apply for a basic entry-level IT job, trying to get into anything IT. But the logic here is that, I don't necessarily know if you're going to like it. If you're interested in many different things, that could work out and be great. But don't just apply to everything and hope for the best, in the sense that if you really are looking for a developer job, go for that route. If you're looking for tech support, do that route. Or if you're looking for security, all very different things, then, try to pursue that. Obviously, things change, and if the market's not great where you're at, then you have to kind of pivot. But the idea is that we've seen a lot of people that kind of apply thinking that they'll be okay, but then they turn out to only prefer one thing or another. And so, the goal is to make sure that you apply for what job descriptions and requirements fit your needs and fit your requirements. Then when you actually hopefully land an interview, make sure to show up on time. If it's a phone call, Zoom, or in person, make sure you're there about 5-10 minutes early at least. Prepare your Zoom. If you have any possibility to be, on an online meeting, make sure you can test it, use it, that it works with the camera and the mic, or whatever meeting app they might, invite you to. If they invite you to something odd, like, I don't know, Blue Jeans, or trying to think what else, like Microsoft Teams, try to get in 10 minutes early just to see if it'll load up, if it's installing on your machine or on your phone, whatever you need. And then make sure you have a quiet location, across the board at your house or wherever you're doing the interview from. So watch out for that. And you can also try to ask before the interview happens, will there be a technical interview, or technical portion to the interview? Find out if there's tech questions, ask for the topics and tips ahead if possible. We usually do a technology assessment, and that is essentially a big part of, some red flags that we see. Obviously for interviewing interns, we're less, critical of that. And then we do ask some, relatively complicated things that if somebody gets all those questions, or most of them, let's say 90%, it's really a green flag for us that we have to pursue this person a little bit more and see what we like. So it usually helps dramatically. We don't necessarily, if the entry level person comes in and they say, no, I've never heard of that or never seen that, we don't really, penalize them that much, essentially, because if they haven't seen it, we understand that's very possible. So during the interview, you want to make sure to answer questions directly. Like if somebody asks you what salary are you expecting, or what is the minimum salary you would expect to take a new position, my goal is to actually throw the answer. I would say you should throw the answer out. Be as honest as possible. I know a lot of people try to up the amount of money and try to request more than what they're either willing to take or where they're at, or they might, kind of come up with some magical, let's add about 20K to the amount of money that I'm making, and that's what I need to change the position. Be honest with it, because then that might be the difference between you and somebody else that's very similar. The employer might pick somebody that's, let's say asking for less, and it turns out that if you stay with that, new job again, that you might gain the ability to, increase your salary in the future, and you really enjoy working at that place. So it's hard to say, what's going to be the right fit. The best fit is to give you come prepared with that amount, or be aware of that amount, and be able to, say it and articulate that's what you need to be able to take a new position, or to, take that position on in the first place. So after the interview, hopefully it went well, don't call to bug the hiring manager or the HR staff or whoever you interviewed with. If you don't know them personally, email is best. Someone may want to call on your behalf, let's say like a parent or a family member, but I would not have them do that unless they personally know the person that you interviewed with. So if they personally knew, you know, the hiring person, obviously they could say, hey, you just want to check in with you on Johnny. Hopefully he did a great job during the interview, something like that. It's fine. What you can do though is you can send a thank you email after the interview and say that you're thankful they spent the time to meet you and to interview you. And it's usually a nice way to express gratitude for the interviewer's time and to reinforce your interest in the job, to remind them, hey, I'm really interested in the job. That's really a good thing to do. And so that wraps it up. I hope that these tips help you and that you're able to get an IT position and make some good money, save the money, and be able to implement a smarter side hustle in the future by utilizing your skills in tech to amplify the ability and to get these crazy $700 a day side hustles that are recommended to you. The goal there is got to be really skeptical of all these things that have results not typical. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Comment below if you have any questions or tips, and let me know if any of the tips help. And I wish you all good luck. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help you.